I see a lot of stuff that can be improved. There's not too many, it's like when politics are trying to get their point across about the things that need to be improved on, it's the things that's like always on the news or always up there, but the little stuff that affects young people, like everyday people, that's not always like up on TV and on the news where people can hear them and see them on camera all the time. Those people who get affected by the little things, no one really talks about those things,
Well, what are the little things?
Like simple stuff like little kids getting like molested. People like kids killing themselves, sex trafficking. I mean, sex trafficking have been something that's been out there now recently, but this has been years of people doing this type of stuff. And now, all of a sudden, in 2019, sex trafficking is something that's new now when it's been going on. And there's different things like that, food stamps and everything else. If I was a politics and I was a very known politician and I was standing in front of a big camera with a whole bunch of people, thousands of people watching, and I'm all the way on the news like Fox 4, I'm going to talk about something that's has something to do with Trump or something like that, something that's really, really big and important, something that the rest of the world is talking about. But for people who don't have the big TV and the news and stuff that we get affected by, no one's going to talk about it. No one's going to talk about the little stuff that happens to us every day. Not like, the stuff that's all...
It's so many things going on in life that you have to come and see the same people, and they don't understand what you understand, and so you can't really get along well with them as well as the educators, because sometimes the students are more aware of what is going on in life than the educators and the teachers. And
that maybe y'all don't see that's wrong with the world, or maybe we go through things that you won't go through because of I don't know exactly how to explain. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that's wrong and that we see it through a different way than it. We see it better than y'all will, and we get affected by it more differently than y'all will. So when we're saying, oh, this is what needs to change or this is what needs to happen, and y'all and the grown people mindsets, they're like, well, I'm old enough, I know that this isn't what it is, and that's just that. Because we're young, we don't know what we're talking about, but it's we get affected and we see things differently than what y'all would see them.
So give me an example.
Me, and I'm not bragging or boasting or anything, but as far as knowing what and being aware of what's going on and why it's doing that, and I can't look at a lot of people the same way, mainly because thank you, I'm not sure, but I can't look at people the same way, knowing that later on it's gonna be back to the same life and back to the same everything and back to life is being unfair basically, and I gotta go, to school and to be happy and be smiley, and then only because I want to spare their feelings and how they perceive of me and their point of view of me, saying that, oh, he's such a down guy.
Dealing with them or something that everyone's on social media talking about. It doesn't have to deal with anything sex trafficking. So it can be something about beef with the presidents or something. They'll go on the news and talk about something like that. Oh, Trump and Obama is beefing, or they have an issue. They're being negative towards each other. Every day long, all the news stations gonna talk about it. Let it be some little girl who just got raped and her family's going through it, or let it be somebody who's missing, and you're not going to get that much attention unless it's from someone who's big, and it's not fair.
So why do you think that's the case?
Put on all of these things as far as homeless people, and yes, hunger. big word, fear, hunger.
A lot of fear goes on.
Poverty, everything that's going on, and nobody's doing anything about it, or not even saying anything about it, not even being aware that it's there. You can pass by and see some guy just in your car. You just pass by and see somebody under a bridge and be like, well, and then me on the other hand, I'll pass by and be like, man, he's probably working really, really hard, and life is treating him like this, and then you got to go to school and go other places, go to your job, and wonder what if I was that person out there, because I have been that person out there. So.
They do get some points across, but everyday things they don't really talk about that, you know? And they focus on the big thing, like who they're beefing with or what song to put out about this and that, but you don't see any artists is really talking about people who struggling with food stamps, or kids not having a place to stay, kids killing themselves or getting bullied, people getting raped and molested and going through foster care, losing their families, getting separated, getting pregnant at a young age. You don't really see them talking too much about that. Every now and then they may, like every 2 months, but nothing too serious, because they have a voice. These are people that have millions and millions of people behind them who, if they say, hey, post a picture of your shoes, do you know how many millions of people that will post a picture of their shoes just because they said do that? Because they have that type of authority. And when you have that type of authority, society shaped it. If you have that authority, you don't talk about something that needs to be talked about. You talk about whatever you feel needs to be talked about. And most of them don't think about the stuff that we go through.
And then you become a social media influencer.
Right.
So I really know how it feels to not have anything. To
You've
not
been
just-
homeless?
Yes, I have been homeless before. It was. Man, I don't even know if
I was. It's like Obama. I mean, like just people that's up there. Let me say that people who can easily get Fox 4 News to come down there and film them on something, they're going to talk about what they feel is needed to be talked about. But us people who live every single day and go through this stuff, the people who can't always be on camera and get their voices out there, we deal with things that are big to us and that's more important, but to other people who has that opportunity, it's not big to them.
Well, it's like what people want to hear, like need to hear, basically.
That's what?
Like it's what people
Talking to you?
To be, I guess. Society, that's how society shaped it to be. When you're famous, like Beyonce, Nicki Minaj, or Cardi B, you have people behind you. Lots and lots of people who cry when they see you, pass out, pay big money to come see you. And they use their voices. Yeah, sometimes they help out with people and the things that's going on.
It all started because my mom has a brain condition, and she starts to, get more. It starts to mess with her emotions and her attitudes, and it makes her more angry than she is, and it makes her, lose that happiness that she used to have. And there's a couple things that were said that kind of drove me out, as well as being kicked out in quotation marks. So then I was just it was. After that, after I left the door, I didn't even have my clothes. I just left with the clothes on my backpack, and what I had was, I think I remember what I had. I had some Twizzlers in my backpack, and that was pretty much it. That's the backpack that I have over there. That's what's been with me since, happy now. I used to sleep behind my job. On the staircase that was behind it, it would be very, very cold, and this was during the winter as well. When so what happened was, and I don't do this anymore, and I used to get hungry, and I would never have money, but because I didn't have a job after that point, so. Then I would go to Target, and I would shoplift, and just because I'm hungry, just because I would be hungry and I needed food and I didn't want to ask anybody.
So did you get caught? Did you ever get caught shoplifting?
I have got caught.
You were shoplifting.
Look, it was in desperate times called for desperate measures.
So I'm not judging. You tell me. In other words, you're saying don't judge me.
Well, let me ask you this.
Pastor.
we're gonna get you into it.
Come on.
Well, just like Jasmine was saying, I would want everybody to come together, especially young people, if I'm trying to get their attention. Have events like that young people like to do. Play basketball, sports, have fun events. Come out, have fun. After the fun, you talk to them, let them eat, do whatever they want to do.
All right. Well,
It was so many emotions going on through my head, and then I grew up kind of. And I'm glad you asked me this question, because I've never been able to tell anybody. I actually grew up with, in quotation marks, no feelings.
no feeling.
Yeah, I would, ever since maybe 2 or 3 weeks, I was, I didn't have a place to stay. I kind of developed this kind of stone cold heart, and I wouldn't talk to anybody. I wouldn't have, I wouldn't put a smile on my face, and I would be extremely protective of who I kept close around me, because going out, I already knew it was a hard world out there, and I knew there's too many backstabbers out there, and I kind of, and it to get a little deeper, whenever I had a couple people die in front of me and get shot in front of me and lose their life directly in front of me and fall to the ground lifeless, and I didn't cry or anything, I kind of just, and it's not that I didn't care, I just, it kind of wasn't new to me.
That was your defense, really.
It wasn't new to me, and I kind of just kept all of that inside me. And I know a lot of people keep their emotions inside them, and they would be, they would break out eventually. With me, I never broke out, or I never, and to this day, I don't even have anything inside me anymore. And I'm still happy, I'm still cool.
But you're only 16.
Personally, I went to Rosa Parks Elementary School when I was little. I changed schools a lot, and I had real bad eczema, real bad eczema, and I would always want to wear pants and jackets to cover my skin, because when I went to school I would get bullied and picked on, but because like my skin wasn't okay and it looked all messed up and stuff, and I would have these 2 braids in my hair, where all these other girls, their skin was flawless and they had weave in their hair and everything else, and I would start not wanting to go to school as much, because I'm telling my mom, like, hey, I'm getting picked on, I'm getting bullied, I'm not exactly fitting in, and it's a big problem for me. And her being grown, she's like, you shouldn't care what they say, it's okay, it's really nothing. But to us, at that age that I was in, it meant everything to me. If I wasn't fitting in, it meant a lot to me. We wasn't worried about bills or anything. But they don't, like grown people, they don't listen to what we're telling them, because in their minds it's like, it shouldn't be a big deal, so it's not a big deal. But for me, it was definitely a big deal. Getting talked about all the time about my skin and my hair, and not looking a certain way that all the other girls look, it hurt my feelings, and it made me cry when like people would talk about me. And when I'm going to my mom, who's much older than me, her mindset was, it's not really that big, so it's not something that you should be trying to change. But because it was to me, I thought that, yeah, that's something that I needed to change. That's something that I wanted them to stop bullying me. I wanted to start wearing this. I wanted to start wearing that. And that's an example of older people not listening to young people because of their perspective on things.
You have feelings now. What brought you out of it?
Parents, my dad and my mom, we went to a doctor. I got eczema medicine, and there's certain places that I had to put it. I mean, it's a little bit messed up, but it's getting treated.
So if you had at that particular time, if you had the treatment that you needed that would not make you look different, how much of a difference would that have made?
Well, it's not that I couldn't get treatment. I mean, I could have, but then again, I was young. I wasn't using that as much as I should have, and then dealing with like the whole foster care thing, going from different families and stuff, you change doctors. When you're changing homes, you're constantly changing schools, you're constantly changing doctors, you're constantly changing friends, and so it wasn't always just me not being able to get the medicine or anything. But if I didn't have eczema as a kid, it probably would have made a big difference, because I think it would have boosted my self-esteem up. It would have made me focus maybe more on more important different than what she did. Maybe like, of course, giving me encouraging words like you're beautiful, or it's okay, don't listen to them. But also kind of understand my perspective on things, as far as why I may have wanted to wear pants all the time, or why I wanted to get my hair done and have braids and look a certain way. Not just to, it's not going to bother you because it's not a big deal. Like, push my feelings aside, because to you it's not a big deal, when to me at that age it was everything. I wanted her to try to put herself in my shoes, instead of being the older person she was, put herself as a kid, like how I was. Like, if I was a child and they were talking about me this way, how would I want stuff to go about? That's how I wanted her to do things.
Did you get treatment for it?
I mean,
because you don't look like you have.
No, not anymore. I got my.
You're supposed to not ask a question that you don't know the answer to. Where's your problem?
Oh, I don't know what it is, to be completely honest. He left when I was 3 months old.
So you grew up with a father. Do you have any father
figures? My Uncle William. That's my father figure. Ever since I was actually homeless, he's been getting me through it, and even though I was kind of stone cold, I was still open up to him and tell him what's going on with me. So that's gotta be my father figure.
You just with the old people. They like
the old people?
I think that like the word is changing. I think they think that the word is going to be the same, but as like reality, it's
They
not.
gotta speak up a little, key, so they can hear you.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think that since the word is changing, they have to evolve around new things. It's not gonna always be the same. Basically, that's what I think.
Okay, well, let's agree upon this, because let's agree upon some
Brought down for the way I looked and like the way I acted, and because I was very different from people. So just starting over from a new school, constantly always having to start over to go through that. And then the little friends that I did make, considering that most of the people in different schools were always talking about me. So the little friends that I did have, it's like I have to move away from them. And that's the friends that I had, I didn't want to have to go to a different school and try to hide my skin. And then when they find out my skin is this type of way, they talk about me and stuff. And I'm constantly having to change this type of person in my life, change this type of person. It affected me a lot.
Well, in some cases, I know you're looking at the more mature and more.
If I was in Miss Barbara's shoes and I had to get young people's attention to vote, I would do things from their perspective. I would hold different type of events that can draw young people to that event, and then talk to them about the importance of voting. Try to connect with them in that type of way, because otherwise they're not going to understand. I will try to go to schools, try to hold pep rallies, do something I know will bring young people's attention to the things. Not just all about fun, but
and not pushing, because they'll say we're not out of time. We'll talk a little bit about that.